Hello, everyone, and welcome to Subject to Cross, a new podcast on criminal law. I am host Caroline Donato.
And I am co-host Pete Kratza.
Both from the law firm McElry Harvey in Westchester, Pennsylvania. We are your friendly neighborhood criminal defense attorneys here to talk about everything criminal defense.
And here we go.
Well, that's Pete Kratza over there who doesn't want to introduce himself. And
Correct.
I'm Caroline Donato. We're your hosts for Subject to Cross. Wait, before we get into this episode, now that we have our feet wet, we're feeling pretty comfortable, feeling pretty good.
This would be better if I could drink.
We could. They have beer here.
Okay.
Next time.
All right.
But we should tell everybody what you wanted to call this podcast.
Oh, God. Do I remember what I wanted to call it?
I remember it.
Dysfunctional...
Codependent co-defendants.
Codependent codependents?
No.
Wait, codependent... Maybe I shouldn't drink. Codependent co-defendants.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Would you want to explain why?
Well, I think it's self-explanatory, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it?
Well, I mean, there's a certain level of
Codependency?
organized dysfunctionality.
Oh, between us?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I keep things pretty organized.
Yeah, I mean, keep thinking that. I saw this on social media, which is going to be the end of civilization. Did you ever see this? It's by a retired judge in Nebraska, Robert Koff. 10 observations of a federal judge of criminal defense lawyers. Koff's top 10 observations about criminal defense lawyers.
Well, this is impromptu.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll just sit back and
when
listen.
you were reading on our last episode, the email from your father, it kind of reminded me of this.
Okay.
So I'll just throw them out there. They go 10-1. I don't agree with all of them.
Say what they are again.
Robert Koff, K-O-P-F, senior, maybe he's a senior federal judge in Nebraska. It's just Robert, I got his name wrong. Jeez, I'm sorry, Judge Koff. It's Richard Koff. This was on social media. His top 10 observations about criminal defense lawyers. So he is a federal trial judge who hears a lot of criminal cases in Nebraska.
And he is reacting to his top 10.
This is based upon his career in observing criminal defense lawyers.
And you're going to go through them one by one, and we are going to have a discussion and react?
Not necessarily every one. We won't have to discuss every one, but I'm going to read them.
Okay.
His top 10 observations. He says, as I write this on a Sunday morning, I am in the middle of a complex criminal jury trial that will likely last 4 weeks. Of course, I cannot write about the substance of the case or the lawyers, but watching the criminal defense lawyers in that case started me thinking about my observations of other criminal defense lawyers over the last 25 years. It occurred to me that the readers might be interested in my top 10 observations about criminal defense lawyers from the perspective of a federal trial judge. So, in no particular order of importance, here are my observations. What I don't get, though, is he said in no particular order of importance. He starts at 10 and goes to 1, which seems to me that 1 would be the most important, but regardless. Number 10, criminal defense lawyers. Are we allowed to curse, by the way?
Sure.
Okay. Criminal defense lawyers are at great risk of becoming drunken bastards. The stress is beyond description.
You're looking at
Thoughts?
me to respond. Okay.
Thoughts?
I don't disagree.
Okay.
I'm already there. No, I'm just kidding. Well, just to touch upon the stress of being a criminal defense attorney.
I relieve a lot of stress from being a criminal defense lawyer.
Well, I would too if I were you and golfing and playing paddle all
That's
the time.
just not true. I mean, in terms of the dynamics of our practice, without mentioning names, I've told you, if you wanted stress, you would have been where I was a long time ago.
Well, I think if any names listen to this, they would be able to attribute who you're talking about.
Well, right. And I often say that in dog years, I was in that practice for 100 years.
And as I often respond, I would never put myself in that position.
Okay. So let's talk about drunken bastard lawyers.
What about them?
Are you one?
No, but
Okay.
I am conscientious of drinking because the days are so stressed. So I make sure, it's a real thing.
Okay.
When I get home, at most during the week, I'll have a glass, maybe a glass and a half of wine
No martinis.
Not during the week. No, Pete.
Oh.
Unless it's a special occasion, but that is very rare.
Is that Wednesday?
No. But because it's just palpable stress. You know,
Mhm.
people's lives in your hands. Do you feel like you've had to be conscientious of that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, wait till you have kids. Kids and being a criminal defense lawyer? My God, it's a wonder I'm not on top of a bridge. No, I think I can see. I mean, there are lawyers concerned for lawyers, or there are advocacy groups out there. We have many colleagues who are recovering alcoholics. It can definitely lend itself to dealing with stress in an unhealthy manner. So how do you deal with stress?
I exercise.
Oh, really? I don't.
I know.
I guess I exercise. I play tennis.
That doesn't count.
Tennis?
Pete, actually, recently, because, that car accident I was in, my back's been just a mess. So Ray has me working with very light weights, and that helps. But
You are jacked.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. But not too jacked.
A good jacked.
Yeah. I used to, before that accident, I used to run a lot and bike a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now I distill it down much more, but the exercise is definitely yoga. I like yoga.
My wife is trying to get me to do Orange Theory, but I think
I hear your wife is very good. I mean, we're getting a little tangential here, but I hear Jen's really good at Orange Theory. People have seen her there.
You're good at Orange Theory?
You can be good at working out. Yeah. You can have good form.
I don't like exercise unless I'm competing. So I need to be playing something. And Orange Theory, like competing against myself so that my heart rate, no. No offense, Orange Theory. All right, let's go to number 9. Being a good criminal defense lawyer requires sincerity, whereas being a great criminal defense lawyer requires the ability to fake it.
I think that's true.
It's a bit cynical.
But it's real.
Give me an example.
Come on. You haven't had the case where you've had to fake it in terms of we don't have to like our clients.
To a judge?
Yes.
Oh.
Or and to the client. I mean, here's the truth. At least for as long as I've practiced, we've been really lucky. I've been really lucky with the clients we've had. I genuinely like most of them. But there have been the 1 or 2 cases where the allegations were just so bad and it was really tough to make an argument. And no matter what, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. You have to make the most credible, effective argument you can. And you have to say it with a straight face because it's true. And the way to say it with a straight face, though, is to make sure that you put together a well thought out argument. Then it's not hard.
Okay. It's a shame that you're so cynical at such a young age. Number 8. When it comes...
Wait, back up.
Just being sarcastic. When it comes to convincing a client to accept a guilty plea because it is in the manifest best interest of the client, a criminal defense lawyer must become a client whisperer. I don't get that.
I do.
What does it mean, a client whisperer?
You have to be able to... That goes back to communication.
Okay.
There are some of those cases where a plea offer is extended or you negotiate a good plea and the client insists on going to trial. I know you have had this experience because I've been on those cases with you. And those are the cases where you know it's in your client's best interest to take that plea. And it's and there's no defense that would justify rejecting the plea.
Right.
That's when you sit down with the client, you make sure you understand.
But I don't whisper.
It's not about whispering.
Oh, okay.
I
tend to become a bit animated.
No, it's just talking about communication.
Oh, okay. Number 7.
Okay.
When it comes to convincing a client to reject a plea offer and take the case to a jury, a criminal defense lawyer, regardless of gender, must possess balls of steel. True.
True, but in our practice at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only time we are going to a trial by jury is if A, the client insists and we can't negotiate a plea that would sway them otherwise, or B, the case is at a point where there's the risk of losing a trial by jury doesn't outweigh any other benefit. Well,
I've had cases where there's a plea offer and I advise the client you can take the plea offer, but I think you have a real good shot at being acquitted.
But that's not what 7 said.
Reject a plea offer, take the case to a jury.
That's when you're saying, no, this is a plea offer, don't take it, we should definitely go to trial.
I don't know that I would ever necessarily, but the point is, if there is a plea offer and the client's on the fence and they want to go to trial, you do have to have.
Oh yeah, to actually go.
I
to
won't
trial.
use that term.
Balls of steel.
I mean, balls of steel. But there used to be a hockey video game, Blades of Steel, that we played. It was a great game. Number 6, I like this one.
Okay.
I apologize to all my prosecutor friends. Real criminal defense lawyers don't hate prosecutors, but they don't trust them either.
There's a few prosecutors I trust, but there's more than enough that I don't.
Okay. Criminal defense lawyers know that the federal trial judge is never their friend, but the judge is seldom their enemy. That applies in state court too.
Depends on the judge.
You going to name names?
No.
Number 4, a tiny fraction of people who have law degrees have the ability to become even mediocre criminal defense lawyers. True.
Very true.
Or trial lawyers.
I agree.
Just trial lawyers generally.
The better the grade in law school, the more skeptical I am of the litigator.
Well, right. I told you that. You know, did I tell you? I don't know if I've ever. When I was in law school, we didn't have computers. We had books. And I went from college where I did well on my own. You know, I could just do well in college. I did well in law school too until the last semester. I kind of
Congratulations.
took the last semester off. But they would hide the books. Like
who would hide the books?
The ones that were trying to get the best grades. You know,
You don't get your own books?
You had to go to a library and find the books, the Atlantic Reporters.
Oh.
Like, you know, you'd have to go and find the Atlantic Reporter in the law library and look for the case. They would misplace the books intentionally or secrete the books in other parts of the library. I would be like, are you kidding me? This means that much to you that you're going to try to mess with other people by hiding the books? I was dumbfounded. And that was one of the reasons I could not wait to get out of law school. And those were the people who who received the best grades. And you wouldn't want to spend 2 minutes in this booth with them.
Well,
and they're not litigators.
Just in case anybody's listening to this and they have the impression that law school requires looking up cases in books, that's not how it works anymore. It's all online.
Well, and when I was in law school, it was not as practical as it is now.
They did teach us how to do it that way, the old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned Shepherdized? Did you have to Shepherdize?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're like, but this is all online. Why are you teaching us that this way?
It wasn't practical law school until my 3rd year of law school. We finally got to we had to prepare a case. We went to the federal courthouse and had to give an opening and handle witnesses. I was like, what the hell have I been doing for 3 years that I didn't do any of this?
Extracurriculars.
Oh, the Mo Vaughn. What was it? Mo Mo Bamba.
You're ridiculous. Mo Levine.
Mo Levine.
Yeah.
Okay. 3.
We're on 3 already?
Yeah. If you become a criminal defense lawyer because you like Rolex watches, then you are an asshole. True. A lot of empty suits in our practice. Agreed?
Yeah. Back in the day, a criminal defense attorney once told me that he or she became a criminal defense attorney because he or she saw other people sitting on the porch smoking cigars around 4:00 in the afternoon, and that's what he or she thought criminal defense attorneys did, and that's kind of the job they had. And I'll never forget that because I never had that impression of it. And then that person was disillusioned and then disappointed when they became a criminal defense
because
attorney.
They didn't have a porch, or they didn't like cigars,
or they didn't have that kind of flexibility to just hang out on the porch.
No, there are a lot of empty suits is what I would call them in our profession. 2, you must have a big ego to become a decent criminal defense lawyer, but you must not be an egotist. Egotist.
Do that again.
You must not be I don't know if it's
I just
Lego,
want to hear you try again.
Egotist. I'm from Delaware County. Egotist. It is never, ever about you. True.
That's true.
And number 1, real criminal defense lawyers represent clients and not causes.
Or we say people and not causes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. No, I mean, I'm not above making a public policy argument, but I'm not going to represent somebody just for a cause.
Absolutely.
We represent people. And I think hearkening back to one of the things that makes an effective criminal defense lawyer is being able to see the good in your client, being able to accentuate it, even with other people. It might not be quite as apparent to them that there is any good in the client or in the case.
You know, when people say, how can you do that? How can you be a criminal defense attorney and represent people? You know, my job is to look for the good, whereas a prosecutor's job is to look for the bad.
Yeah.
It's a much better way of living, in my opinion.
I think we're probably going to live longer, right? As long as we don't become drunken bastards.
And as long as you don't, you know, inundate me with stress.
Oh, okay, I'll try to do better. All right, I think that's it.
Anything else?
No, wrap it up.
Well, that's it for this week's or this month's or this year's.
Or this ever's.
Subject to Cross. And we'll look forward to speaking to you next time. Signing off, Pete.
Bye. Thank you for joining this week's Subject to Cross.
Until next time.